Wildebeest at Holiday World and Splashin Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana is an award-winning water coaster from ProSlide. This hydromagnetic water coaster has been named the best water slide in the world every year for the past decade in Amusement Today's Golden Ticket Awards, which is quite the accomplishment. So in this video, I will review Wildebeest and explain why it's worthy of the title as the world's best water slide. Water coasters are arguably the most popular genre of water slides. These attractions mimic roller coasters by offering sizable drops relative to other water slides, but also featuring uphill sections powered by a variety of propulsion methods. The earliest water coasters were built in 1994 by Schlitterbahn in New Braunfels, Texas. The first would be Dragon Blaster. The earliest water coasters propelled rafts uphill with powerful water jets. This technology would be used on water coasters over the next decade, most notably on Schlitterbahn's Master Blaster. This slide opened in 1996, and it truly showed what water coasters were capable of. The ride was far longer and more reminiscent of a roller coaster than the earlier water coasters. Master Blaster would be named the best water slide in the world 11 times between 1998 and 2009. In the mid-2000s, both Whitewater West and ProSlide would introduce a new method to propel rafts uphill. These companies would use high-speed conveyor belts. These were effective at taking rafts uphill, but they were noisy and just not as exciting as being blasted by water jets. Whitewater West debuted the Zip Coaster at the Kalahari Resort, while ProSlide would introduce Typhoon at Six Flags New England and Massachusetts, and Black Anaconda at Noah's Ark in the Wisconsin Dells in 2005. But ProSlide would not use conveyor belts for very long. The following year, they added linear induction motors, or LIMs, to their water coasters. This was the most exciting propulsion method yet. This hydromagnetic technology allowed ProSlide to launch riders uphill faster than ever. Each raft would have a steel plate mounted on the underside that would interact with alternating magnetic fields on the uphill sections. This technology had been widely used on roller coasters since the 1990s, but this was the first time it had been used on a water slide. ProSlide's first LIM water coaster would be Deluge at Kentucky Kingdom, and just 4 years later, ProSlide provided a water slide that would dethrone Master Blaster. In 2010, Splashin Safari debuted Wildebeest for $5.5 million. When it opened, it was the world's longest water coaster. The slide had 8 uphill launches and 1,710 feet or 520 meters of track. This record would later be broken by Mammoth in 2012, another slide at Splashin Safari that was added due to the immense popularity of Wildebeest. Wildebeest is located in the very back of Splashin Safari, and it's arguably the most popular attraction in both the water park and the dry park. It's not uncommon to find this slide with an hour wait on a hot summer day. My recommendation is to ride this shortly after the water park opens if you want to avoid a sizable queue line. Or you can utilize the single rider line if you're alone or don't mind splitting up your party. This has often got me on the slide in less than 5 or 10 minutes. Each raft seats up to 4 riders, and you must weigh between 200 and 800 pounds on each raft. Typically, Splashin Safari will try their best to fully load the rafts to keep the queue line moving. The station has a scale that gives a green or red light depending if you're within the specified weight range. These rafts have absolutely no restraints, which is one of the reasons this slide is so thrilling. This water slide has bona fide airtime, and there's nothing stopping you from experiencing it. I don't usually have a preference where I sit on most water slides, but I do on Wildebeest. If you have a lighter raft, I think you get a better ride experience up front. You get better pops of airtime atop the hills. Just know that the person up front will be constantly sprayed by mist. So this is a slide I'd recommend wearing goggles for if that would bother you. If you have a heavier raft, I think you get a better ride experience in the back because you're yanked over the drops. One of the worst things about water slides is the grueling 5 to 6 story hike up a series of stairs. It often feels like you're at the gym rather than an amusement park. It's especially frustrating on the ones where you see the rafts have an elevator atop the tower while guests need to walk up. Wouldn't it be nicer if you got to ride up on the conveyor belt as well? Both ProSlide and Splashin Safari agreed with that notion, which is why Wildebeest has a station more reminiscent of an actual roller coaster. This not only saves guests a lot of energy, but it makes the ride more accessible too. Wildebeest Station has constantly moving conveyor belts, and it is separated into a load and unload area to expedite the process. Once seated, a conveyor belt slowly brings you atop the 64-foot or 20-meter tall lift hill. I wish this ride would launch you up the hill, just like the park does with their latest water coaster in Cheetah Chase. That way the action starts from the get-go. But once you crest the lift, the ride's about as crazy as a water slide can get, so it's easily forgiven. After a slow turn in the dark, you drop down the ride's initial plunge, and this drop gives a pop of floater airtime if you're towards the back of the raft. You then rapidly ascend a bunny hill. This hill gives a small pop of airtime for everyone, regardless of where you're sitting. You then rise up a sizable hill into a tunnel. If you have a fully loaded raft, the front row riders will get a tiny pop of airtime. If you have a light raft, the front row riders will get some very weak but somewhat sustained airtime. And that is a very freaky feeling on a water slide. The rafts also create a small splash that hits front row riders anytime you enter a tunnel. After rounding a 180-degree bend, you plunge down one of the ride's steepest drops. The ride has a maximum angle of descent of 45 degrees, but this drop feels steeper, especially since you're on a water slide. This drop occurs in a shed, and it delivers weak sustained floater airtime for everyone, but it's a tad more powerful in the back of the raft. It's a really foreign sensation on a water slide, and what makes Wildebeest special. After levitating off the raft for a few seconds, you slam back down and are launched up another bunny hill, again giving everyone a tiny pop of airtime. You then rise up into another tunnel, which gives front row riders an itty bitty pop of airtime. You then round another corner, this one with more speed, and zip down a tiny drop. This drop is one of the few that don't give any airtime due to its small size. You then rise up into another tunnel, again giving the front row riders a tiny pop of airtime. You then round another turn, drop down another diminutive drop that offers no airtime, and then you rise up another large hill. And then comes another drop in a shed. This one was equally as intense as the prior. It's another steep plunge with some freaky sustained airtime. You then rise up another large hill into a tunnel, giving riders up front another small pop of airtime. And then Wildebeest traverses a twisted section in the dark, more reminiscent of your typical tube slides. When you re-emerge into the daylight, you rocket down one last drop, giving back row riders one last pop of airtime, before shooting up into the station, ending the ride. So what would I rate Wildebeest? I would give this water slide a perfect 10 out of 10. This is about as perfect as a water slide can be. Most water slides are over in a flash, but Wildebeest gives a long and satisfying ride. Not only that, this ride also delivers some crazy airtime. When you get airtime on a roller coaster, it will be stronger in most cases, but to get pops of airtime, and sometimes sustained airtime, when you have absolutely no restraint, makes it considerably more thrilling. The two shed drops in particular are incredible and easily the highlight of the ride. This slide is also pretty well paced, and it feels way faster than the posted 24.5 miles per hour or 39.5 kilometers per hour top speed. This is one of the top 3 water coasters I have personally ridden. I go back and forth if I prefer this or Mammoth, but I do slightly prefer Toothless's Trickling Torpedo at the DreamWorks Water Park at the American Dream Mall in New Jersey. That slide has less turns or filler elements in between the drops, and the drops pack just as much of a punch as the ones in Wildebeest. I do need to note that I haven't yet been on Krakatoa at Volcano Bay, and that's something I hope to fix this year. So those are my thoughts on Wildebeest, the acclaimed water coaster at Holiday World and Splashin Safari. Have you been on this slide? How do you think Wildebeest compares to Mammoth or the other water coasters out there? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.